Jokic just went off. Nikola Jokic just made a huge statement in the MVP race tonight. There's been a lot of talk about SGA running away with the award, but Jokic made it pretty clear who the frontrunner should be right now. It wasn't just a great game. This was the top two MVP candidates going head-to-head, and Jokic flat out outplayed SGA. It was a battle, and Jokic dominated it. Let's start with the MVP situation. A lot of people had been saying it was SGA's award to lose. Jokic heard all of that, and what he's done lately is unreal. The same week, everyone handed the MVP to SGA. Jokic put up 31 points, 21 rebounds, and 22 assists. That wasn't enough for him though. Tonight, he walked into Oklahoma City and dropped 35 points, grabbed 18 rebounds, and dished out 8 assists. That's against the guy everyone's calling the MVP favorite. And Jokic did it on 75% shooting from the field. 75! That's just ridiculous efficiency. When you look at SGA's numbers tonight, they were solid. He scored 25 points on 8 for 14 shooting. He made 3 out of 7 shots from 3, added 3 rebounds, and had 7 assists. Those are strong numbers, no doubt, but they aren't 35, 18, and 8 on 75% from the field. And they definitely don't come with Jokic's impact on both ends of the floor. This was a big-time game between two of the top teams in the Western Conference, and Denver came away with the win. They scored 140 points to Oklahoma City's 127. That evens the season series at 2-2, and it comes right after Denver lost to them the game before. Jokic wasn't letting them lose this one. Not tonight. Jokic was everywhere. He shot 14 for 18 from 2-point range, which is 77.8%. He went 1 for 2 from the free throw line, which is 50%, and knocked down 4 or 5 from 3, which is 80%. His true shooting percentage was 78.8%, and he finished the game a +8 in 40 minutes. That's dominance. He also added 1 block and 1 steal, just to round out the stat line. But honestly, he didn't need to fill up those defensive numbers. His presence alone had Oklahoma City thinking twice every time they attacked the paint. That's what Jokic does. His defense may not always show up in the box score, but it's there. And it was there tonight. This wasn't just one random big night either. Jokic has been on an absolute tear. Over his last 7 games, he's averaging 26.7 points, 16 rebounds, and 11.3 assists. He's also averaging 1.4 steals and nearly 1 block per game. And he's doing it on 59% shooting from the field. That's consistency. That's MVP stuff. And here's something crazy. Nikola Jokic now has the most 35-point, 15 rebound, and 5 assist games in the NBA over the last 50 seasons. 50? Nobody else is doing this. Not in this era and not for a long time. The fact that he keeps putting up these kinds of performances in huge games like this says it all. And tonight, he did it against Oklahoma City, who are not an easy team to dominate. They've only allowed 7 other players to score 30 points against them all season. Jokic became the 8th tonight, and Jamal Murray joined him as the 7th. That's how tough Oklahoma City's defense is, and Jokic made them look like they had no answers. By the way, if you guys enjoy these deep dives, I'll be posting every day during this season. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks. Anyways, Jokic. This wasn't just a game Denver needed to win to even the season series. It was a game Jokic needed to win to remind everyone what MVP basketball looks like. And he delivered in every way. I mean, this was the guy people said was slipping in the MVP race. He sure didn't look like it. He looked like the best player on the court. And honestly, the best player in the league. The narrative was shifting hard toward SGA this past week. And I get it. SGA has been amazing all season long. But when the two met face to face, Jokic left no doubt. His performance tonight was exactly what you want from an MVP candidate. Efficiency, production, leadership, and a win over a direct rival. Denver scored 140 points, and Jokic was the engine behind it all. He set the tone early, kept it rolling all night, and made sure Oklahoma City never had a chance to close the gap. They threw everything at him, and he still got whatever he wanted. 18 rebounds against a team like Oklahoma City, that's imposing your will. 8 assists, that's making everyone around him better. And 35 points, that's just being unstoppable. And the efficiency is what makes it so special. 75% from the field is absurd for a guy taking that many shots and carrying that much of the offense. He didn't just score, he scored easily. He made it look effortless, and that's what sets him apart. Jokic's last 7 games tell the same story. 26.7 points, 16 rebounds, 11.3 assists, and nearly 1 block and 1.5 steals per game. And he's doing it on 59% shooting. That's not a hot streak. That's who he is. And it's why I think he should be the MVP. Tonight was the perfect example of why he's the best player in the league right now. The MVP race might have looked like it was tilting toward SGA, but Jokic just yanked it back in his direction. He went into Oklahoma City, faced off against the guy everyone's been hyping up, and beat him. And he made it look easy. So yeah, I think Jokic is the MVP. Nights like this are why. He's putting up numbers we haven't seen in 50 years. He's dominating in every facet of the game, and he's doing it when it matters most. Denver needed this one to even the season series and bounce back after a loss, and Jokic delivered in a huge way. There's still time left in the season, and a lot can happen. But if you're asking me who the MVP is right now, it's Jokic. Performances like tonight are exactly why. I want to get into comparing their stats a little more though. When you break down the scoring numbers between Nikola Jokic and SGA, there's a lot to look at. And I'll be honest, people love to throw out points per game and crown the guy leading in raw scoring. But if you actually dig into the numbers, Jokic is having a scoring season that's just as impressive, if not more impressive, when you look at how efficiently he's doing it. Let's start with the basics. Jokic is averaging 28.8 points per game this season. That's more than 99% of players in the league. He's scoring more points per game than 91% of the league. That alone puts him in elite company. But it's not just about how many points he's scoring, it's about how he's scoring them. Jokic's effective field goal percentage is 62.5%. That's a huge number. Effective field goal percentage accounts for 3-pointers being worth more than 2-pointers. And Jokic is doing this while scoring 28.8 points per game. His effective field goal percentage is higher than 93% of all players. He's shooting more efficiently than almost anyone who's getting real volume. He's averaging 1.3 points per field goal attempt. That means every time Jokic shoots, you can basically count on him giving you 1.3 points. And when you realize he's attempting 19.2 shots per game, that efficiency becomes even more valuable. He's hitting 9.1 2-pointers a night and 2 threes per game. And it's all adding up to one of the most efficient scoring seasons we've seen from a big man. Now compare that to SGA. SGA is averaging 32.9 points per game. That's more raw scoring than Jokic. No denying that. And yes, it's more than 100% of players, which means nobody is scoring more points per game than him right now. But it's important to remember, volume isn't everything. SGA's effective field goal percentage is 57.4%. That's solid, but it's not on Jokic's level. It's lower by more than 5%. And that gap matters. Jokic is giving you elite efficiency on fewer shots while keeping his scoring in that high 20 range. SGA is taking 21.6 shots per game to get his 32.9 points. Jokic is only taking 19.2 shots for his 28.8 points. They both are averaging 1.3 points per scoring attempt. But when you combine that with Jokic's shot selection and his ability to score within the flow of the offense without forcing shots, it gives Jokic a slight edge in how much he's maximizing every opportunity. Look at the true shooting percentage. Jokic is at 65.8%. That's elite. That's higher than SGA, who's sitting at 63.7%. Jokic's true shooting percentage shows he's doing more with less. He's not just efficient. He's historically efficient for someone putting up close to 30 points a night. SGA gets to the free throw line more, averaging 9 free throw attempts per game compared to Jokic's 6. But Jokic is still giving you nearly the same points per scoring attempt while taking fewer shots and getting to the line less. That means Jokic isn't relying on whistles to get his points. He's just flat out scoring in the half court through defenders without needing the benefit of foul calls. And even with Jokic's lower free throw attempts, he's still averaging 1.3 points per scoring attempt, just like SGA. That's because Jokic is giving you more efficient production in other areas of the floor. His 2-point makes are 9.1 per game, and his 3-point makes are 2. SGA makes 9.2 2-pointers and 2.2 threes, but he's taking more shots to get those numbers. And when you think about where Jokic plays on the floor, constantly dealing with double teams, operating as the focal point of Denver's offense, and still shooting 62.5% on effective field goals and 65.8% true shooting, it makes his production even more valuable. Jokic is doing this while being the primary creator for his team, not just scoring, but running the offense, passing, and rebounding. And yet, he's still giving you nearly 29 points a game at ridiculous efficiency. SGA's job is different. He's an elite scorer and playmaker, no doubt. But Jokic is giving you elite scoring as part of the bigger picture, and he's doing it without sacrificing efficiency or shot quality. When you compare them straight up, Jokic is scoring less per game, but doing it with fewer shots and at a higher percentage. That makes him a more efficient scorer. And if you believe scoring is about more than just volume, Jokic's numbers make a pretty strong case. And let's not forget, Jokic is still outscoring 91% of the league. He's not lagging behind. He's right there among the best scorers in the NBA, and his efficiency is off the charts. SGA is leading the league in points per game, but Jokic is giving you almost as much scoring with better shot making and decision making. The scoring battle between these two is closer than people think. SGA has the edge in raw points. Jokic has the edge in efficiency. And when you look at MVP candidates, efficiency matters just as much as volume. Jokic is not taking anything away from his team to get his points. He's adding value on every possession. Jokic's scoring is sustainable because it's efficient. He's not relying on a ton of free throws. He's not forcing bad shots. And he's not jacking up low-quality threes. He's getting his points in the paint, from mid-range, and from the three-point line, all while playing within the offense. That's how you win games. That's MVP basketball. And then we can do the same for their passing. Let's start with ball handling. Jokic has a ball handling rating better than 99% of players. That means he's doing things with the ball in his hands that basically no other big men have ever done, and better than almost any player in general. He's operating as Denver's primary playmaker, bringing the ball up the court, running the offense, and creating plays for his teammates. For a center, that's almost unheard of. Meanwhile, SGA is better than 96% of players in ball handling. That's really good, especially for a guard who spends most of his time creating off the dribble. But Jokic still has the edge, and that's wild considering he's a 7-footer. Now look at assists. Jokic is averaging 10.5 assists per game. That's more than 99% of players. SGA is averaging 6.2, which is still great, better than 93% of players. But Jokic is on another level. We're talking about a center leading his team in assists while putting up numbers guards dream about. 10.5 assists per game from your big man. That's not just elite, it's historic. And Jokic isn't just racking up assists for show. His assist percentage is 40.87%. That means when Jokic is on the floor, he's assisting on nearly half of his teammates' made field goals. That's better than 99% of players in the league. SGA's assist percentage is 28.84%. It's strong, and it puts him ahead of 93% of the league. But Jokic's ability to create for others blows it away. Let's talk about points assisted. Jokic is directly responsible for 25.1 points per game through his assists. SGA assists on 15.8 points per game. That's nearly a 10-point difference. Jokic's passing directly accounts for almost as many points as some players score themselves. When you factor in his own scoring, Jokic is producing more points between his buckets and his assists than just about anybody. And here's where it gets even better. He does all of this while keeping his mistakes low. His turnover percentage is 9.27%. That means for every 100 plays he finishes, whether it's a shot or a turnover, he's only turning it over about 9 times. That's cleaner than you'd expect for someone who runs his team's entire offense. SGA's turnover percentage is 7.34%. That's slightly lower, and credit to SGA for taking care of the ball. But Jokic has the ball in his hands more often, makes tougher passes, and still keeps his turnovers to a minimum. He averages 3.3 turnovers a game. SGA averages 2.5. Again, not a huge difference considering how much Jokic is asked to do. Jokic has 21.9 scoring attempts per game when you add up his field goal attempts and trips to the free throw line, plus his turnovers. That's a huge offensive workload. SGA has 25.8 scoring attempts per game, slightly more than Jokic, but Jokic is doing so much more creating for others on top of that. His usage isn't just about scoring, it's about setting up his teammates and running the offense. He's basically Denver's point guard and center rolled into one. When you add it all up, Jokic is producing points with a mix of elite scoring and elite passing. 10.5 assists a game lead to 25.1 points from his teammates. That's on top of his own 28.8 points per game. SGA creates 15.8 points from his assists, plus his own 32.9 points per game. Jokic is giving you a total of 53.9 points between his scoring and passing. SGA is giving you 48.7 points. Jokic is responsible for more points, plain and simple. And it's not just about raw production. Jokic makes the game easier for everyone around him. His passing opens up shots for teammates that they wouldn't get without him. He's not just kicking it out when he's trapped. He's seeing things 2 steps ahead, and it's happening from everywhere on the court. At the top of the key, the low block in transition. His vision is unmatched. SGA is a good passer, no question. He makes smart reads, finds the open man, and gets his teammates involved. But he's not orchestrating the offense like Jokic does. He's not the guy every possession flows through. Jokic is the system in Denver. Without him, the entire thing falls apart. SGA can hand off to other creators, and Oklahoma City can spread the load. Denver lives and dies with Jokic's ability to control the offense. Jokic's assist percentage at 40.87 is the kind of number you see from guards who handle the ball all game. For Jokic to be putting up that number as a center is ridiculous. And it's not like he's out there just making simple passes. He's throwing cross-court dimes, no-look feeds, and threading needles through defenders. He's passing teammates open. If you're looking for an MVP, you want the guy who makes everyone around him better. Jokic does that more than anybody. His passing isn't just elite for a center, it's elite for anyone in the league. He's averaging more assists than most point guards and doing it while scoring nearly 29 points a game himself. SGA's passing is solid. 6.2 assists per game is good. His turnover numbers are low, but Jokic is playing chess while everyone else is playing checker. His passing gives Denver an entirely different dimension, and it's why I think Jokic deserves the MVP. His ability to control the game through both scoring and passing is unmatched. Jokic's passing stats aren't just numbers. They show how valuable he is to his team and how complete his game is. You can't argue with 10.5 assists per game from your center, or the fact that he creates 25 points a night with his passing alone. It's just another reason why Jokic stands above the rest in the MVP race. And we did scoring, passing, but now let's do rebound. When you look at the rebounding numbers between Nikola Jokic and SGA, it's not even close. Jokic is on a different planet. His dominance on the glass is another reason I think he's the clear MVP this season. While SGA is a great player and does plenty of things well, rebounding isn't one of them. Jokic, on the other hand, controls the boards in a way very few players in the league can. Let's start with Jokic's raw numbers. He's averaging 12.9 rebounds per game. That puts him ahead of 97% of players in the NBA. Whether it's offensive rebounds or defensive rebounds, Jokic is cleaning up everything around the rim. He grabs 10 defensive rebounds per game and adds 2.9 offensive boards. Those numbers rank him better than 86% of players overall. But when you break it down even further, his offensive rebound percentage is 8.53%. That means he's grabbing more than 8% of all available offensive rebounds while he's on the floor. That number is higher than 95% of all players in the league. On the defensive end, he's even better. His defensive rebound percentage is 25.73%, which ranks higher than almost everyone. Jokic isn't just grabbing a few boards here and there, he's controlling the glass on both ends. Now let's compare that to SGA. SGA is averaging 5.2 rebounds per game. That's more than 49% of players, which puts him right in the middle of the pack. It's solid for a guard, but it's not game-changing. He's pulling down 4.2 defensive rebounds per game and grabbing just 0.9 offensive rebounds. His offensive rebound percentage is 2.6%. That's higher than 47% of players. His defensive rebound percentage is 11.39%, which is fine, but nowhere close to Jokic. Jokic is more than doubling SGA's defensive rebound percentage. That's a massive gap. Jokic is better than 97% of the league in rebound. SGA is sitting right in the middle. And it's not just about the raw numbers. Jokic's rebounding percentages show how much more effective he is when it comes to cleaning the glass. His ability to grab defensive rebounds ends possessions and gets Denver going in transition. His offensive rebounds give Denver second chances, which lead to extra points and extra opportunities. SGA's numbers are what you'd expect from a guard. He chips in, but he's not impacting the game in the rebounding department like Jokic is. Jokic is a force. Every missed shot feels like it's going straight into his hands, and his ability to secure defensive rebounds helps Denver avoid giving up second chance points. The offensive rebound percentage really stands out. Jokic's 8.53% is elite. He's grabbing nearly 3 offensive rebounds a game. SGA's 2.6% shows he's just not involved in that part of the game. He's averaging less than 1 offensive board a night. Jokic is providing extra possessions for his team, and that matters. More possessions mean more points. More points mean more wins. On the defensive side, Jokic's 25.73% is elite. That number is higher than just about everyone else in the league. SGA's 11.39% isn't bad for his position, but Jokic is simply on another level. And here's the thing about Jokic. His rebounding isn't just about grabbing the ball. It's about what he does after. He gets the rebound, and then he starts the fast break with his passing. That's where his unique skill set comes in. Most centers grab the board and hand it off. Jokic grabs the board and makes the next play. He turns rebounds into offense, which makes his impact even greater. SGA gets his share of rebounds, but they're not leading to the same kind of plays. Jokic's rebounding gives Denver a huge advantage. They get more possessions because of his offensive boards, and they get quicker, more effective offense because of his defensive boards. He controls that part of the game. Jokic's rebounding also means Denver can space the floor differently. They can take more risks defensively, knowing Jokic is back there to clean things up. They can send guys out in transition earlier because Jokic is reliable on the glass. That gives Denver an edge in pace and spacing. SGA doesn't have that same effect. He's a guard, so rebounding isn't his primary job. He does fine in that role, but it's not a strength. Jokic makes rebounding a weapon, and when you look at MVP candidates, that's something you have to consider. Jokic is impacting every part of the game: scoring, passing, and rebounding. His 12.9 rebounds per game are a big part of why Denver is one of the best teams in the league. SGA's 5.2 rebounds are nice for a guard, but they don't move the needle the same way. Jokic ranks higher than 97% of the league in rebounding. SGA ranks higher than 49%. That's the story right there. Jokic dominates the glass. SGA does not. And that's a huge part of why I think Jokic is the MVP. He's doing everything: scoring, passing, and rebounding. And he's doing it at an elite level. The rebounding numbers back that up. So when you compare them side by side, Jokic is grabbing nearly 13 boards a game. SGA is grabbing just over 5. Jokic's defensive rebound percentage is over 25%. SGA's is just over 11%. Jokic's offensive rebound percentage is over 8%. SGA's is less than 3%. Jokic is grabbing more rebound, and he's doing more with them. He's ending possessions, creating new ones, and making plays off the glass. SGA's rebounds are solid for a guard, but they're not game-changing. Jokic's rebounding is game-changing. It's another reason why I think Jokic should be the MVP. The numbers speak for themselves. And when you compare Nikola Jokic and SGA in terms of teamwork and their overall impact on their teams, the numbers tell an important story. And it's another reason why I think Jokic deserves to be MVP this season. SGA is on the best team in the league right now. There's no debate about that. The Oklahoma City Thunder have the best record in the NBA at 53 wins and 11 losses. They're sitting comfortably in the first seed. The Denver Nuggets are 41-23, holding on to the second seed. But the context here is huge. The Thunder are loaded with talent and depth. The Nuggets without Jokic, they're one of the worst teams in the league. Let's start with Jokic. His mixed teamwork rating is better than 99% of players. That stat shows how much his presence creates a positive margin for his team. When Jokic is on the floor, Denver's offensive rating is 126.9. That's elite. It means the Nuggets are scoring at an insanely high rate when he's running the show. His defensive rating is 115.8, and his net rating, the difference between offensive and defensive ratings, is plus 11.1. That's how much Denver outscores teams when Jokic is out there. Plus 11.1 is a huge number, especially when you consider the fact that Denver struggles badly whenever he's off the court. And this is where Jokic's value really jumps out. Denver's on-off rating with Jokic is plus 12. That means the Nuggets are 12 points per 100 possessions better when Jokic is playing compared to when he's sitting. 12 points. That's one of the biggest gaps in the league. Without Jokic, Denver is nowhere near the second seed. In fact, they'd be one of the worst teams in the league. Jokic makes that big of a difference. His games with a positive plus-minus percentage are 67.2%. That means in more than 2/3 of his games, Jokic finishes with a positive impact on the scoreboard. That's with a team that leans heavily on him for everything: scoring, passing, rebounding, playmaking. He's the reason Denver is even in the mix. Now let's look at SGA. His mixed teamwork rating is 100%. That ranks him at the very top of the league in terms of how much positive margin he creates for his team. And the Thunder are an absolute machine this season. Their offensive rating with SGA is 123.7. Their defensive rating is 106.4. And their net rating is plus 17.3. That's a massive number. Oklahoma City outscores teams by over 17 points per 100 possessions with SGA on the floor. SGA's games with a positive plus-minus percentage are 87.1%. That's an elite number. Almost 9 out of 10 times, SGA finishes with his team in the positive, and his on-off rating is plus 11.9. So when he's on the court compared to off, Oklahoma City is nearly 12 points better per 100 possessions. It's basically the same on-off impact Jokic has. But here's where things get interesting. SGA is doing this on the best team in the league. Oklahoma City has talent everywhere. They have a deep rotation. They play great defense, and they're winning games even when SGA has an off night. That's not a knock on SGA. It's just reality. He's a huge part of their success, but they've got plenty of other pieces that make them elite. Denver isn't built like that. Without Jokic, the Nuggets drop off a cliff, and the numbers back it up. Jokic is plus 12. On-off rating is keeping Denver afloat. His net rating of plus 11.1 is carrying them into that second seed in the West. Without him, they're not contending. They're probably not even a playoff team. That's how important Jokic is to Denver's success. Even though SGA has a higher net rating at plus 17.3, his team is loaded. Their defensive rating is 106.4, one of the best in the league. Jokic is working with a defensive rating of 115.8. That's a huge difference. Denver's defense isn't close to Oklahoma City's, but Jokic is still leading them to wins. And let's talk about offensive impact. Jokic has an offensive rating of 126.9. That's better than SGA's 123.7. Even with all the help SGA has, Jokic is running a more efficient offense. He's producing more points for his team with less help around him. SGA's Thunder are 53-11. Jokic's Nuggets are 41-23. But take SGA off Oklahoma City, and they're still competitive. Take Jokic off Denver, and they're not even close to the same team. Jokic is doing more with less. He's carrying more weight, and he's making a bigger difference in keeping his team competitive. The teamwork stats show both players are elite at making their teams better. SGA's mixed teamwork rating is number 1 in the league. Jokic is right behind him at 99%, but the context matters. Jokic is elevating a team that falls apart without him. SGA is playing for a team that's already stacked with talent and depth. Jokic's plus 11.1 net rating is impressive on its own, but when you factor in Denver's defensive struggles and lack of depth, it's even more impressive. He's the reason their offense is elite. He's the reason they're still competing for the top spot in the West. So while SGA has the best net rating and his team has the best record, Jokic's impact is more valuable. Denver needs him on the floor to win, and the numbers back that up. Plus 12. On-off rating, 126.9. Offensive rating, 67.2% of games with a positive plus minus. Jokic is the engine of that team. When you take everything into account, offense, defense, teamwork, and overall impact, Jokic is doing more to keep his team in contention. The Thunder are the best team in the league, but Jokic is the most valuable player. His teamwork numbers show it, his impact shows it, and it's why I think Jokic should be MVP. If you guys enjoyed this, I'll be posting every day during this season. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.